Yeah, well, soca in the 80s, in the early 80s, was really the highlight of soca, the new beat, because Explainer did a tremendous beat with Rasmus and Lauren, and that had a real impact on the Caribbean, all the Caribbean islands. And then you had Blue Boy was on fire with all his songs like Soca Baptist, and even Ed Watson had well, Ed Watson was in the late 70s with Hot Soca, but he came into the 80s too. And you had Penguin, and then from Montserrat you had Arrow, who was a real gigantic soca artist. He covered songs like Hot Soca, Soca Rumba, and Raise Your Hand If You Want to Jam. I think he was one of the men that really internationalized the beat. He was a dynamic performer. Sorry that we lose him. And from St. Vincent you had Winston Soso and Beckett, two different artists. Winston Soso was a real soca jammer, you know. He had a groove like someone like the woman with paint, like, you know, he's a pong in soca. And he too did a lot to produce to make soca popular, and Beckett had a kind of groove to it. Well, in Antigua you had Swallow. Swallow was a real soca man, and you had Obstinate was kind of, I don't know how I'm going to put Obstinate, but he was like soca too, but he was more from the kind of traditional calypso. And Shorty was calypso, but with this real strong arrangement of Frankie. He gave Shorty a kind of soca, but it was very hard for Shorty to leave that calypso freezing. But anyhow, we kind of walk it out with songs like Press On. Yeah, Press On, that was a good, I find that album was a good album from with his first band, Press On. And after he had Push, so he didn't do too bad in the soca era. Well, up with the islands like St. Kitts and Nevis, no, they always keep on the old traditional fast calypso, which get real popular a little later in the late 80s with band like I don't know, I was in Canada at the time, but I think band like Jam Band and band like 17 Plus, they just continue with the traditional from GI Brass, but they kind of modernize it with the drum machine. So I'm not I'm not reaching there yet, but soca kind of changed. But in Trinidad again, you still had guys doing the thing. You had Tumba, you had Charlie Roots, you had Ronnie McIntosh and those guys with a brand of soca. And back in the late and early 90s, Blue Boy come back with a real dynamic soca with the type of raise your hand, you know, raise your hand, and then with the flat thing, and he brings soca on another level here in Merchant. And from there was a change in Trinidad taking place, but there was a still change in the island with bands like Born in Flames, Camille, WCK, 17 Plus, and all these bands were revolutionizing the soca up the island. And then Trinidad was doing the thing, but it was really very competitive for Trinidad to really come up the island and do things. There's only man like Sparrow and Baron who was really still popular up the islands. I mean, up the islands like St. Lucia, Antigua, St. Kitts, Dominica, Nevis, St. Thomas, St. Croix.